welcome to Books and Brews Light, episode number 71. We are here with Sara Hathaway. Welcome, Sara. Cheers.
Thank
It's nice
you.
to have you.
I'm getting ready for martial arts, so I'm caffeining up right now.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm getting ready to hopefully sleep tonight, so I am not drinking
Yeah.
caffeine. But I'm not quite to the part of the night where I drink the red wine in hopes that I will sleep. So somewhere
Get
in
a little more
between there.
sleep.
Yeah, I'm just having water. So, but I always feel like with Books and Brews Light, even though I don't officially make a beer or cocktail, I guess you don't make beer. What I would have for
You could.
you, I could. Uh, my son actually did home brewing, but now he's running marathons. And so he's like, why bother making beer that I kind of
Yeah.
can't drink as long as I
Right.
run
Right.
marathons? So,
Good for him,
but
though.
I would make the classic homesteader alcohol dandelion wine.
Okay.
And
Yes.
have you ever actually tried
I
dandelion wine?
haven't actually had the dandelion wine. I've done, lots of dandelion teas, and we've made dandelion
Mhm,
fritters and stuff like that, but
mhm.
I haven't done
How
that
do
one.
they taste? I've never done any of that
The
yet.
So the fritters are interesting because it's just a little bit more plant-like than what you're used
Mhm.
to. We make acorn granola bars as well, and those are just way better. So
Okay.
we kind of leaned that way. But the tea is really, really good for you. Just got to make sure you're picking from the right place. But again, really bitter. And I actually have that in some of my books, that, oh, we can always make dandelion tea. And like the little boy's like,
Right.
yeah, no. You know?
There are always dandelions. The
Yeah.
dandelions, like before, will always be with us, right?
Yep.
So, introduce yourself and your books to my vast audience of tens of millions,
All right.
especially in my imagination.
So my name is Sara Hathaway, and I am the author of the Changing Earth series. It's 11 books now, 8 in the main series, 9 in the main series, and then 2 side novels because everybody loved to hate my bad guy so much I had to do his origin story. And then one of the soldiers got his own origin story. And um, the books are post-apocalyptic novels. I try to teach a lot through my fiction. So I really loved reading Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean M. Auel. They were fantastic. The Children of the Earth series, just loved it from the standpoint of you're having this epic story while you're learning all of this great information. And when you look it up, lo and behold, it's all accurate. So I just grew up country girl, and I really liked creative writing to just release, my emotions and whatnot. And it took me a long time to do Day After Disaster, which is book one. And that was because, I was just dabbling here and there
Mhm.
and having fun with it as I was going to school and things like that. And so I finally published that one in 2014. And then I've had years where I did 3 novels in 1 year and years where I didn't do any. And so now we're at 11. There was a 9-year gap in between book 1 and 2, and everybody was like, what happened during the 9 years? So I went, and they were in Las Vegas, so I did the Lost Vegas years. And so
Oh,
now it's book
clever.
1.5. Yeah, right, because it's the lost 9 years.
Right. And so, would you call yourself a prepper or a homesteader? I know you're a little
So
more urban now, but
yes, yeah. So I never called myself that. Um, when I published my book, I just grew up country, and
Mhm.
we always gardened and we always canned, and fishing and that kind of thing, hunting, shooting was always a part of my life. And then when I started marketing my book, everybody's like, "Oh, well, you're a prepper, or you're a survivalist."
Mhm.
Okay, well, if you say so, it's been a fantastic community to be involved with. I do have to say, the homesteading and preparedness community are some of the most down to earth, heart filled people that you'd want to meet. And
I have
they're,
to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Now I have fun. I know some people really hate all things AI. I do have fun with the music making program,
Yes, me too.
which, the irony is my degree is in music. I can write a song if I want to, and if I have time. I never have time.
Right.
So one of the songs I wrote was called, I think it was called Grand Genet to Slinging Hay. And Grand Genet is a harp method. So I played trombone and harp and
Oh, cool.
flute.
Okay.
And when you talk about ground down to earth, among harp players, oh my gosh, I went on a harp forum once and I was like, these people are vicious. You think of these lovely angels strumming their
Yes,
harps,
strumming.
right, and their long flowing blonde hair. And then you go on the forums and they're ripping each other to shreds over whether you should play Grand Genet is like one method of holding your fingers, and I forgot now what the other main method is. And they'll fight this to the death, like in a cage fight or something. And
Yeah.
so, anyway, but I thought it was kind of funny. I've gone from playing harp in my lovely concert black to I'm out there in the hay and the rabbit poop. So, but yes, you're right. They're very down to earth, generally very good people, very helpful. Like in our group, we have someone who does a lot of organizing classes. This morning there was a chicken processing class,
Nice.
and they're
Yep.
just, they
Willing to help
understand.
understand, yeah, of what, come on in,
Yep.
have a drink and relax and just
Mhm.
great people. So,
Well, and
um,
very helpful. I have to say, you can see my sheep behind me,
yeah,
and I'm trying to see. Oh, there's a little one. We call that one
there you
Cinnamon.
go.
I can't see Maisie, and Maisie might be one of the ones eating in there. You recognize her by her ear tag on the left. Yeah. Daisy is the one on the right, Dr. Daisy. And Maisie, one day I came out and I found her on her side, and I was pretty sure she was pregnant. So at first I was like, well, is this part of giving
What's
birth?
going on? Yeah.
I'm new to this. Well, long story short, it turned out she had sheep polio, and I had to get her up a rather steep hill into the sheep shelter. She's like 160 pounds. She
Yeah.
weighs at least as much as I do. I'm not getting her anywhere. And I called a friend, said, she's sick, I need help. And she was over, she lives down the hill. She was over in a flash, helped me get her up
Right.
there. And, then another day, we have this, it was a kennel for dogs, but we use it to raise the rabbits. And our farmhand had put up a screen door, and this latch was a little loose. So I went in one day, pulled the screen door shut behind me, went to leave, and I was locked in.
Uh-oh.
Of course, I called Amanda again. I'm locked in the rabbit hutch.
Me. Yeah.
And of course, the first words out of her mouth were, only if I can take a picture.
That's
I said,
going on Facebook.
you can even take a video. You can mock me till the end of all time. Just let me out. My husband was out of town at the time, so I was going to be in there
You
a
were
long time
yeah, with the rabbits.
with the rabbits. And,
Yeah.
I didn't have a stove to cook them, so it's not like I could even eat them.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I have found it a wonderful experience and a wonderful life. And so did you ever like deliberately start homesteading, or did you just kind of move from growing up country to your own homesteading?
Yeah, we did. We pretty much had, we had horse and I would say a little bit more gentlemanly farm when we were growing up.
Mhm.
So, horse in our garden and things like that. And just a culture of shooting, trap shooting with the 12 gauges. And then I learned how to bow hunt and things like that and really took it to that level. So then when I moved out to California, my husband and I got married a couple years, and as soon as we had our own place, we just started our own garden, and we were, in the middle of the town. It's small town, but we were
Mhm.
still, in the middle of town, so we'd have a huge garden, and we would always be canning and, bringing in the food of what we grow. to supplement our food supply that we had to buy from the store. Then we moved out to 40 acres. Once we had more property to be able to do more with, that's when we started raising pigs, and we had like, 70 to 80 chickens at one time. We were just selling
Wow.
eggs like crazy. Yeah. And trying to keep the foxes away and everybody from eating our chickens. And we raised the Muscovy ducks. They were nice to have around, but better in a wetter environment than where you have to keep their pools clean and everything out in California. So yeah, it was just kind of something that I've just been exposed to forever, and I think I've just taken it a little bit farther than what my family did, just because I
Yeah.
understand the relevance of not being tied to that grocery store, to that I want
Right.
better food. I know what it tastes like. I know what my fresh eggs taste like. I know what that
Right.
beef tastes like when we get a half a cow from somebody, I know what our pig tastes like when we slaughtered it. And what you buy at the store is just not the same.
Well,
So,
it's shocking. My husband has talked about how some of these fruits we buy, because of the preservatives on them, could
mhm.
be as much as a year old.
Yeah,
And
which
and it
is
was shocking to me. Like, I'm not a fan. I've never been a huge fan of blueberries or blackberries, and strawberries I like okay. But we started getting them from our garden. We started eating eggs from our own chickens. Now, I grew up totally urban. I grew up in the military. So
okay.
we
Yep.
always in the suburbs. I don't think I had an egg straight from a chicken until we started homesteading 4 years
Yeah.
ago. I had never
Night
experienced
and
that.
day, right? The chicken
Hmm.
eggs in the store are the light yellow, just really no color to them, a lot less flavor. But when you have them fresh from your own chicken, it's that deep yellow. That yolk
Yes.
is just so good. And yeah, so when we moved out here from California, we moved much more urban. We wanted to be in a better school district for my son, and just we've always been out so far. Our kids didn't really have like friends down the street,
Hmm.
right? So we plan on being here till he's done with high school, and then we'll move back out a little bit more country. But
Hmm.
we went 1 year without chickens, and I was like, I can't even do this. Like, I don't have anywhere to take my table scraps. I don't,
Hmm.
I'm not getting the eggs. We have to have them. So now it's just part of life. And so
Do
now
you
it's about like, oh, go
are
ahead.
you on acreage now?
Yeah, we have an acre, 1 acre
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So yeah, we're like 5 minutes outside of town. Everybody says we're very country, but no, like I wouldn't raise pigs here. My neighbors would be very upset about the smell, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Yeah,
So,
I've been told they smell awful, and I've heard
oh,
horror stories about how vicious they can be, which nobody in my homesteading group seems to think
no,
so.
they were always nice, except yeah, it's very stinky. They will just poo right where they eat, and it's
Mhm.
just a mess to clean up. One of my neighbors, who actually was a gentleman who installed like septic tanks and stuff,
Mhm.
he made a septic tank that had like a wash system, so he could just hose everything down into that septic tank from the pigs. Best setup I've ever seen for raising pigs and keeping that
Okay.
stench and all their muck cleaned up, because they're very much
Yeah.
like humans. It's like having human feces out there. It's not like having a sheep
Yeah.
or a llama, or a horse,
Mhm.
right? Where it's just your hay that's basically coming out the back end. They eat
Right.
everything. They'll eat it all. Like you can feed
Yeah.
them.
Well, I keep being told sheep will eat everything too, and then I'll
Oh,
hear, well, accept that.
yeah, except that. They don't, no, not that one. Yeah.
Right. So I always double check. I was about to give the chickens lemons and limes yesterday because they eat everything. And I thought I
Mm.
better check, and said, nah, maybe not so much that. But
Yeah, the rinds, I've always experienced they don't really like the rinds a whole lot. Like you can feed them the corn, but they won't eat the cob kind of
mhm,
deal, right? So they'll leave those types of things behind.
yeah.
Um, but I never feed my chickens chicken, and I never fed my pigs pig, because I just
Uh-huh.
think that's wrong. Like
It seems
mostly
cannibalistic.
you can flip it, just feed the chicken
Right.
pig and flip flop that, and that'll work
Right.
out. So yeah.
Well, you're also quite skilled in martial arts, and I think a number of them.
Yes, yeah. So I've trained Taekwondo, sports jujitsu, regular jujitsu in both the Brazilian and the Japanese style, close quarters combat, MMA, and I'm currently currently do MMA and Krav Maga. Um,
Okay.
and Krav is the best martial art pretty much that I've done. It's
You read my mind.
yeah,
I was going to ask, what is the best for basic self-defense?
best for basic self defense is going to be Krav hands down, just because they are so focused on practical application of
Mhm.
being that self defense ready. You're not training for a competition where you're going to go out and barely touch each other or whatever. You're training to
Mhm.
be attacked and defend that attacker. And you do knife defense and you do gun defense. And
Wow.
so, yeah,
Okay.
so
And how
it's
long have
really
you been
where it's at.
involved in martial arts?
I've
And
been
what got you
training
started?
martial arts since I was 25. So I was training to play Olympic ice hockey, and I just got pregnant with my son, and everything just kind of changed. And my husband and I wanted something we could do together. So we started
Okay.
martial arts together, and I just loved it. I've always been a fighter. I just love training. I was a victim of a physical assault once, and I said I will never let that happen again, ever.
Yeah, I think that's wise. I've only had one instance in my life where I really felt in danger. And it was a little bit ironic that I was 16 and my parents needed to go out of town for a funeral. And I said to them, nobody has ever tried to break into our house ever. I'll be fine. Lo and
Hmm.
behold, that night somebody tried to
Way to
break
put
into
it
the
out in the
house.
universe. Yeah.
Right, right. And I have wondered since, was it somebody at my school happened to know that I was
Mm.
going to be alone that night? But we had a dog, and he actually wasn't a very big dog, but he had a big voice. And he was going crazy at the door, and I could hear them. I could hear them trying to get in.
Yeah.
And the dog scared them off. But that's frightening.
Enough. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where I really lend to, encouraging people to, if you don't like, because it's all about the instructor as well, what you're going to get out of it. So if the instructor in your area for Krav isn't that great, but there's a boxing coach that's really, really good that you like and you jive with. And then the secondary is the relationship you have with the other students that are training there.
Mhm.
If everybody's there just trying to take each other's heads off, then that's not a place you want to be, right? And those gyms exist.
Yeah.
When I'm training MMA, a lot of times I'm with people that are half my age and a lot less skilled and things like that. And so they don't take well to a woman who's 5 foot nothing, 100 nothing, pretty good. And, so you have to be
Mhm.
very careful of who you're interacting with. And that just comes with experience. But so when I'm telling people to find a school, I'm not leaning so much on the type of martial art rather than the fit that you have with the instructor, because that's going to allow you to get the most out of it. But if you
Right.
do have to ask style, if it's going to be Krav, because they do a stand-up game and a takedown game. So if it's an assault on a female, they're going to want to take you to the ground as fast as possible. It's usually a singular attacker and they want to go to the ground as fast as possible. With men, it's usually a group of people who's attacking the man, and they would rather do a stand up for a while, a stand up fight, rather than take them to the ground as quickly. Once you go to the ground, that's when they like to kick you in the head or whatever, things like that. So you're going to try and stay on your feet. So there's a difference there between what a man's looking for, what a woman's looking for. Jiu-jitsu is great for ground game, but like 90% of what you learn to do in jiu-jitsu is actually a felony. So
Really?
yeah. So at the
I
same,
assume it's not a felony if it's in self-defense, though.
it depends. So
Okay.
it depends on the scenario. And there's you have to prove, your innocence, that you were rational, that it wasn't avoidable, that you were using proportional force to that threat.
Mhm.
A woman against a man is usually going to be better off, defensively. But there was a story of a woman who was 65. The man came up on her. She felt threatened for her life. She just presented her firearm to let him know, like, hey, back up, I have a gun. And people saw her take the gun out as they were driving by. And that came up in the court case. She ended up serving time for brandishing
Really?
her weapon.
Okay.
Because they didn't feel that the level of risk there was, was proportional,
Right.
that she took it to a higher level. And, I don't get to decide that, and you don't get to decide that. It's a jury of our peers that gets to decide that.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's fair warning, but it makes for kind of a scary world too, where in theory, somebody who does have bad intentions can actually end up charging their would-be victim.
Yeah,
That
and
doesn't
changing
seem
your
right.
life. Yeah, it doesn't.
Right,
It really
right.
doesn't.
Yeah,
So there's
so
all
how
kinds
long,
of regulations that go on there.
right? How long have you been writing?
So I've been writing since I was young. I wrote a lot of poetry back in the day. And no, I don't share my poems from when I was younger with people. I get that question a lot. It was really my outlet for, just my feelings. I
Hmm.
couldn't draw, and I wasn't really musical, but I had a lot going on in my head and needed an outlet, and so that was really my release. And then when I went to school, I was going to school for business. And my writing teacher told me, you write too flowery. You can't write like all these adjectives and everything. Nobody wants to
Hmm.
hear that in business writing. It's got to be meat and potatoes. So
Hmm.
I started my adventure of what would happen if I was down in Sacramento and my family lived up in the foothills at the time. What would happen if disaster struck while I was down here and they were up there? And that was just the game I played to be able to start writing day after disaster and really take that adventure of
Right.
what does that look like?
Now, are both your boys still at home? I think you have two boys,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
so I've got two boys. One's turning 26 and one's turning 15 this year. They're both here. We're a multi-generational house. So I have
Okay.
my mom with us and we're here, and then my sons still live here, which is just fine with me. It takes the pressure financially off of everyone. And
Yes.
we're a tight family and we don't have many
Yeah.
major problems
You know,
cohabitating.
along those lines, I had a really nasty comment made to me. Several of my kids have lived with me until they're into their 20s. And when we were still on our homestead in Duluth, Minnesota, I believe he was 21 at the time, was living with us. Now he was working to be an EMT and taking his training. He was working as a guard at the hospital there. So he's in college, he's working. He was helping us out on the farm every
Yeah,
day. If we wanted to go somewhere, we could pick up and go because we knew he's going to take care of the animals, he's going to
right.
take care of the indoor dog. And I had someone just make the nastiest comment to me about how adult men should not be living with their parents. And I'm like, it used to be common. And if you get along and you're helping each other out, why not? I don't
Yeah,
see a problem with it.
I don't either. And lots of people have like to sling their opinions around, and you just have to
What, in
wonder,
this
like,
world?
yeah, no, you know, um, so I try to take the log out of my own eye before I press that onto other people. And I would say, like, where's he coming from? Maybe he was disappointed because his son decided to go to the military or something and he didn't get that opportunity. So maybe he was just coming from a place of jealousy and used that as an attack against you,
This,
which of course
yeah,
isn't
this
fair.
was actually, I think it was on a mother's forum, maybe.
Oh,
So,
and so he's in there trolling for it. Yeah, I had
right.
a gentleman who bought my book from like a thrift store, so I didn't even make money on the royalties.
Uh-huh.
And he just slaughtered me in the review, and I was like, "Wow, what is life like that you find it necessary to go onto some author's page of a book you bought in a thrift store and just, degrade them?" And so That really gives you thick skin, though. I
It,
also work.
it does.
Yeah.
I have one book. I didn't leave a review on this, but I was so upset with this book that I actually stayed up till like 1 in the morning writing my husband a screed about all the problems. And it was a book. He hadn't done his research. He wasn't like, okay, as one example, this woman forgets that her brother is in the middle of being crucified and takes off with the guy she just met. And she's Jewish in the year 33 AD. I'm like, no,
No.
that didn't happen. And it was just one thing after another like that, where things were anachronisms and people didn't behave like people should, especially for that time, or like they
Right.
should at all. And
Like they should
I
all.
think part of the reason I was so upset was that I had really, really looked forward to reading this book. I loved
Mm.
the premise. I wanted to enjoy it. And it's like, did you even read it a second time before you hit
Right.
publish? You
Yeah.
know, my first draft would probably look like that. My
Yeah.
first draft could easily look
Oh,
like that. My third draft
yes.
might even
That's
look
what
a
I
little
tell
bit like
everybody. You
that.
gotta just start somewhere and then polish the turd, You just
Right,
keep
right.
polishing and polishing. And that's one of the things too about my oldest son is we read so much together as far as my
Oh,
material goes.
nice.
And
Mhm,
he's my writing room, where I'm
mhm,
I'm up to what should they do now? Where should we
mhm.
go? And even if I don't use his idea, just to brainstorm it with him and
Yeah,
like gather it through. And then, yeah, all of the books, we read them all out loud, all of my scripts, because I've turned the whole series into an audio drama right now. So I write all those scripts for all the
okay.
seasons as well. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, he's my biggest sounding board as far as, we have all this content we're producing. And yeah, to read it out loud is absolutely essential. And to have other ears on
Yeah,
it and other eyes on it is just
right.
priceless.
Does
So
he also write?
he doesn't, right? He actually plays a lot of D&D and
Okay,
the Dungeons and Dragons. So,
right.
and he's like the what they call the main guy. So he create a dungeon master. So they
Yeah, that's
create these fabulous worlds of
mhm.
all of these monsters and all of these adventures these people are
Yeah,
going to go on. I'm like, why don't you record some of these sessions?
right,
I
right.
mean, it would be great content, to
Well, the
roll
book
with.
I'm working on right now, I'm actually working on about a dozen books right now, and I do not recommend doing that.
No.
Um, and I blame this on my husband because, like your son, he brainstorms with me and gives me all these
Oh,
ideas, and then he goes back to work and leaves me like, now I have to write all
and
that.
you're left stirring and stirring.
Right.
Yeah.
But the book I'm actually working on right now, I was just working on it before you signed on. It's called 220 BC. And I'm actually co-writing it with Dr. Kendall Price, and we did 221 BC together. And to say co-writing, that's very generous. He puts my name on the cover, but this is what he does. He plays a D&D game, and he came up with this story of this search for these amulets across, the year 221 BC,
Hmm.
all across Egypt and Medea and Babylon and Nineveh. And that's
That's
exactly
very
how,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, how he did it. And
That's
it's
a
quite
good idea
amazing.
too for my son. I'll let him know.
Yeah, yeah, turn it into a
Uh-huh.
book. And your books are they optioned for a movie right now or for a TV
So
series?
yeah, we have the pilot script ready. I have a production company that's pretty serious. They're not, so to speak, option. They're still available for purchase right now if another company wanted to option them, but they do have it on their purchase board and up at IM on IMBD Pro and all of that. So we are walking forward with the production process, which is just been so long coming. It's a really,
That's
really,
amazing.
yeah,
How did this come about for all the authors who want their books to be on the screen? How do you make this
get
happen?
ready. It's a ton of work. There's so many people out there creating. So the first thing that I would say is learn your script writing. you know, and just learn script writing, because there's so much. You're not just going to take your book and be like, hey, here's my book. And they're going to be like, wow, your book's amazing. And here we go. Right. Some have been, but if you want to be involved in the process at all, like if you want to be involved, if you just want to sell it, then cool, write a bestseller, market the heck out of it, and you might be able to just sell it off for them to buy it. But personally, I'd like to be a little bit more involved in the creation process. So that means that I have to show them that I would be a valuable person, like in a writing room, that I'm competent at writing scripts, that I know this material. I've taken line producer classes and things like that, just so I can learn how the process of Hollywood works and what that all looks like. So I tend to dive in with both feet, and that's really what I want my future to be. So I put a serious commitment in there to it. On a very basic level, there's a program called Stage 32, and it's like a social media network for people who have ideas to be able to pitch their ideas to potential producers and things like that. So I've done many pitches over there, you know, talked, networked, and you just start, it costs money. You're going to make a huge investment to get there, especially as somebody who doesn't have a name. I'm completely self-published. So, you know, I don't have a traditional publisher behind me or anything like that. I've built the Changing Earth from the ground up every step of the way. But that has been very rewarding, because you can get so much knowledge there. And yes, you're going to pay for it. Knowledge costs money. But you know, you can get certified as a screenwriter. You can get certified as a producer. There's all kinds of classes now you can do online through like Michigan State University. They have Coursera. And not overly impressed with it, but if you're starting from the ground up, it's a great place to start.
Right. How would you, I know a lot of writers over the years who have spent an absolute fortune on classes that I kind of think, and courses and writing groups, they're paying
so many sharks. So many sharks in the water right now.
How would you recommend people avoid that?
Okay, so I was blessed enough, because this is before like AI was as big on the screen. Sorry, I have a fly in my cabin. I have a fly.
What, on a farm?
Yeah.
We have no problem with flies here.
I was blessed by getting picked up by a law firm, their acquisitions department in LA early. And I had a mentor there, and I could be like, hey, does this look like something I should do or not? Right. I still got bit by my fair share amount of sharks along the way, because, you know, you're trying to do all this stuff. You're just looking for someone to help you with marketing and somebody who's credible and those kinds of things. And they're horrible. So nowadays, I don't answer my phone anymore at all. So if you're ever going to try and get a hold of me, you need to text me first, because unless I recognize who you are, I never pick up my phone, because I get that many scammers trying to call me, trying to market to me, right? And anything that I get via email that looks, even like, most of all, I'm just getting rid of it. But if it looks slightly legit, I'm running it through Grok first. I use Grok a lot for verification of who is sending me what. And typically, if you're looking at their email address, is the dead giveaway. If they're credible, they better have at their actual website. That better be verifiable. You should be able to go there, check that out, and still run it through Grok. And then check out with the Better Business Bureau as well. Like, are they accredited there? Are they there? You know, they'll have, some people are just in a room in a house, and some people work remotely. So they might be the best person to work with. You know, there are the gems out there. I've found very quality mentors along the way. So I don't want to scare people into like, hey, nothing good exists, but there are sharks swimming all over the author water right now. And they're feeding on our passions, which is disgusting.
And our desire, you know, we all, when we write a book, I think maybe I shouldn't say this. In my writers group, I think that a lot of them just love to write, but I think
Right.
most authors, even they would jump at it if it fell into their lap to have your
Right.
book on the screen.
That's the thing. It is never going to fall into your lap. Pretty much ever. That is not going to happen. That is not reality because these producers and these companies have so much content to choose from. They will never reach out to the common Joe to be like, hey, we want your stuff. You have to strive and you have to be excellence and you have to get your name on their list. And then you're just
And I
on the
think
list.
that's good advice
Mhm.
for people. I get them all the time. Oh, hey, I came across your book and it's so
Mhm.
incredible and amazing. And,
Oh yeah. Fluff your
yeah,
secret and fluff and fluff and fluff. And you're like,
uh-huh,
oh yeah, it is that great. Come on. They will
right.
never reach out to you.
Yeah,
An agent, a book agent for like traditional publishers and that, they don't have the time to
right.
research you. I mean, that would have to be like a miracle. Your book immaculately arrived by God in their
Right,
hands,
right.
right? They don't have the
For
time.
that to
They're getting
happen.
hit with how many inquiries every single month for somebody who had the gumption to reach out to them.
Right.
So if you think it's going to magically arrive, no way. No way.
So let's have your reading and then talk more
Okay.
about your series in particular.
All right. So my reading today, I picked you a special one because this has been on my mind. And it's from my third book, which is, I'm going to put my glasses on. It's from my third book, which is one of my favorite books. This is from The Walls of Freedom. So I'm not starting you at the beginning. I'm starting you in book 3, but it's a part of the book that I really love. And I've been thinking about this part a lot lately. So I was like, this is the one that we're going to go for. Okay, let me have a drink before I do this. I've been talking a lot. Okay. Erica floated along on a small raft in the middle of a toxic lake in a destroyed city. She was swirled into a water cyclone that sucked her into a building where she saw bloated faces in the water. Their eyes open and their hands reached out to her. She tried to grab them, but as she started her, sorry. She tried to grab them, but as she pulled on their hands, their arms tore from their decomposing bodies. They screamed for help and started to sink her raft. She felt the intense burning of the toxic water all over her body. Erica screamed and sat up. She was in the cubby with her emaciated family sleeping around her. It had been a dream, a horrible nightmare. As her senses came back to her, she heard the wind howling and a tapping on the wood they had put over the back of the boat. She quickly grabbed her pistol, thinking that someone was boarding the boat. She went out with her gun drawn and hallucinations returning to her mind and turning her mind into a ball of fuzz. She whirled around, pointing her weapon at the shadows. The boat rocked furiously and she lost her balance. She fired the 9mm wildly into the air as she stood up to find the hidden threat. Suddenly, she was grabbed from behind. Her arms were pinned down and the pistol dropped to the deck. It's me, baby, Vince yelled at her, trying to break through the heavy fog occupying her mind. It's me, he whispered, hugging her tightly. Returning to reality, she turned and hugged him. He was her savior. For him, she could come back from hell itself, and she had before. She sobbed in his arms, but the dehydration prevented any tears from flowing. It's just a storm, baby. It'll pass. Vince felt Vince felt as delirious as his wife, but her wild gunshots had kept him bound to reality. What's going on? Dexter wondered, emerging from the cubby. He was paper thin. There's a storm out there, a big one, Vince told him. The family huddled together in the safety of their cubby while the storm raged on. During the night, the boat rammed into the unforeseen, and Erica had to wonder if there would still be a boat left in the morning. Hell's fury raged outside, but the family slept. They just couldn't maintain consciousness for very long. They needed some nutrition. Mom, check this out, Star screamed. Hearing the screaming in the back of her mind, Erica struggled to come back to reality. Erica stirred and saw Daniel lying motionless as her eyes opened. Daniel, Erica screamed, checking his chest to make sure he was still breathing. His chest barely moved up and down. She felt his pulse. It was weak. Oh my God. No, Erica screamed out furiously, watching his life drain from his body. No, God, no, she chanted over and over, pleading with her maker to keep her son alive. Where's Dad, Star? She questioned the girl, who was still trying to get her attention. And where's Dex? They went up there, Star declared, pointing upward, like I've been trying to tell you. Up where? Erica was confused. She gathered her young son up into her arms and then left the cubby to look. She gasped as she saw a huge battleship looming overhead in the sunlight. There was a rope connecting it to their ship. She surveyed their own boat and saw it was little more than a ravaged hull floating in the water. The storm had taken its toll. She wondered how long she had slept and how close to death she herself had been. Star, coming down with water and mangoes, Vince yelled, looking over at them from the battleship. Hi, baby, he said, noticing his wife was alert next to his daughter. How's Daniel? In need of that water, Erica yelled. Vince lowered a 5-gallon bucket on a rope into the fractured craft. Erica immediately grabbed the plastic bottle of water out of the bucket and poured a little over her son's lips so he could taste it. She took a slow, long pull off the bottle and then began trying to slowly and steadily get the liquid into Daniel's frail body. He had licked the liquid off his lips and roused more and more as Erica continued dripping it into his mouth. Here, Mom, Star said, handing her a slice of mango. Erica had never cared for mango in the past, but right now it was the most delectable thing she had ever tasted. Her mouth watered for more. Star handed her another slice, and Erica sank her teeth through the juicy orange fruit. Vince was back at the edge of the battleship, high above them. He lowered down a stretcher. Put Daniel in, and I'll bring him up, Vince commanded. Okay, Erica agreed. Erica looked down at her frail child. His brown eyes had sunk deep into his soft skin, and when he licked his lips for another drop of water, there was a noticeable line down his tongue. Erica had to wonder how much longer he would have lasted without this stroke of luck. Erica's neck hurt as she craned it to watch Daniel's body float up the side of the steely gray hull. USS Missouri was written on the side. As Erica and Star watched the stretcher clear the side of the ship, they ate another mango and drank the last bottle of water that Vincent sent down to them. Soon the basket was back and Vince was yelling at them over the edge of the boat. You're next, superstar, Vince insisted to Star. He knew Erica would raise a fit if he asked her to come next. Erica watched Star grip the rope with the grace of a dancer. She floated up to the ship like an angel taking flight. Her beautiful golden hair was a sharp contrast against the steely gray hull of the ship. Erica waited for a moment after she watched Star clear the edge, and soon the rope was in her hands. She gripped it tightly, feeling the rough exterior of the thick rope. It began to lift her off the ground above the wrecked boat that floated gently in the water. She had to admit that she was actually glad to be rid of it, but she wondered, what are they going to do now? This boat was far too big to row into the bay, and how far out in the ocean had they floated? She stepped onto the deck. Her mind lit with questions, but she immediately forgot everything. The deck of the ship could hardly be recognized as a battleship. It looked more like a floating tropical island, complete with jungle grasses and fruit trees. Wow, Erica gasped, full of surprise. I know, right? Vince recognized the same look of wonder he had when he first laid eyes on the deck. I guess the birds had a hand in this, because there sure are a lot of them. This is unbelievable. Erica just couldn't believe how complete the jungle scene was. Is anyone else here? Not that we've found so far, but this place is huge, and any doors I've found are locked from the inside, Vince replied. Well, I don't think we should stay here long, Erica countered nervously. Why not, Mom? It's just like paradise, Dexter chimed in, with mango juice dripping from his chin.
Okay, so are they on the deck of the USS Missouri?
Yes. Yeah.
How?
Yeah, so they were out in the ocean. They were trying to get from because Southern California and California was annihilated by water. The water
Okay.
surged. We're now the water levels up to, up into the Sierra Nevadas.
Hmm.
So they're trying to get from Southern California to Northern California. And they were like, well, the easiest way, we could take a boat up. So while they're
Okay.
out on the boat, the storm comes in and just hits them. And then they find the USS Missouri adrift out in the Pacific. And the birds had been living on it, right? And so all the feces and whatnot started growing this island. And that's where they
That's
end up
wild.
taking refuge. Yeah.
So, I have to tell you my personal experience with the USS Missouri. When we lived in Bremerton, Washington, our house actually looked down on the water just outside of the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard.
Okay.
So I kind of joked that if I had stood on my tiptoe on the railing of my deck and leaned way out, I could have seen the USS Missouri from our deck.
That's
Probably would have
cool.
fallen and broken my neck. But even more than that, you probably know it's in Hawaii now.
Right. So the
So,
water came up in Hawaii and made it lose its
okay.
moorings there.
Well, I happened to play, it was a big political battle that Hawaii thought they should have it, and Bremerton did have it at the time. And so when the dust cleared and Hawaii was going to get it, I played trombone in a big band at the time. And so we actually had groupies, and we were asked to play Old Lang Syne on the Dock as it sailed behind
Okay.
us.
That's cool.
I
Nice.
wish I had a picture. I actually asked on a Bremerton Facebook group, does anyone have a picture of the band playing? Because I remember turning to look behind, and it was just hundreds of sailors in their dress whites lining the
Oh,
decks
that's so
as she
cool.
sailed out behind us. And so when I went to visit my son when he was stationed in Hawaii, he and his brother went to see the USS Missouri. I couldn't. It was like I can't see it any other way than the last time I
Right.
saw her.
Well, there you
But
go. There's a new fiction image
now I
for you.
have a new image. You
Yes.
took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh,
So
I was like,
yeah,
this seems
is
suitable for the
right.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had no way of knowing that I had that personal
Right.
connection to that is
Yeah.
a wild coincidence. So is your book, I mean, I think a lot of people today think that the world is in danger of turning upside down of people needing these skills. Is your book based in any way on that or on modern current
Yes.
events?
So I did a lot of research on the prophetical literature, right?
Hmm.
So I studied a lot of Nostradamus, the Bible, Edgar Casey, Hopi prophecy, and everybody's pointing to one thing, which is a great earthquake that happens on our planet. And now we have the magnetic poles that are literally
Hmm.
shifting and the next, shaking to go on. And so my big fear is that if we build this artificial society, which we have, which is just
We have.
becoming more and more artificial as we go, that we lose that connection with our planet. And the only reason why humans have survived the bottlenecks in the past is because we've been so adaptable. We know how to
Mhm.
work with the planet. We know how to, garden and how to do these things, how to hunt and fish and, find our
Right,
resources within the
right.
earth. And so that was one of my big red flags for everybody was like, hey, these things can happen. And in my books, the Great Quake, like for instance, in Venezuela, there was a lot of structural damage that happened from the recent earthquakes. A lot of
Right.
right, a
And
lot of
there
structural
there
damage.
were 4 that day within hours. Was it Japan, 2 in
Right.
Venezuela?
Japan and then Cali got hit as well.
Right.
So when you see earthquake damage, unless you're in like the patty cake buildings, like what happened over in Afghanistan, the serious amount of loss of life was because they have those buildings that literally patty cake down,
Yeah,
right? And
okay.
everybody was sleeping at the time. At least in Venezuela, they were outside having a
Mhm.
celebration for one of their big events. It's a big holiday in Venezuela. So they were all outside on the street celebrating and whatnot. Not a lot of people were inside. What my point that I'm making is that the earthquakes cause a lot of structural damage, but they don't kill that many people. So
Unless they're in the structure.
unless they're in the structure, right? So you have this incident where your hospitals might be wrecked, your grocery stores are wrecked, everything is wrecked, but everybody's alive. People
Yeah,
need help. They need to get to a hospital. They need food and they need this stuff, but no, the infrastructure is no
not
longer there to
available.
support them. So that's
Now,
how, like, day after disaster is the actual disaster. It is
oh,
the day after disaster happens, right? And
right.
then Without Land was originally book number 2, and it takes you from 9 years after. What was the response? How did the government handle national triage?
Mhm.
And basically, they started rounding up all the refugees and putting them in FEMA camps. And then they
Right.
started
Now,
using them as a labor
let me
source.
throw in a question here. You do kind of bring up through the series that we have this authoritarian sort of leader who arises. In all the apocalyptic literature, I think that tends to happen. Is that kind of inevitable, do you think?
So I did it as a illustration of, we have the group that's still very much freedom fighters. They still very much believe in the Constitution. They still very
Hmm.
much believe in individual and the wealth of each individual to make that community an awesome place. And then your other group that went with those tyrannical sources. But I didn't just paint it as like those evil tyrants.
Hmm.
There's reasons why they did what they did, because you needed immediate structure control to get
Yeah.
this under control, and you needed to have one voice that was making decisions and making things move. And this is a big debate even amongst in the preparedness community. Stuff goes down, how do we handle who's in
Yeah.
charge, right?
Yeah.
And most men, especially military, will go, we need one leader with one voice to direct what's going on. And
Right.
most women will be like, we need to have a board, a group of people that are making decisions, right? And so I really wanted to paint both pictures to show you like what that looked like and what society looks like under each ruling. And it's not easy on either side. And there's pros and cons to both.
Right.
However, um, the you can never rule through fear for long term. And so something has to change and evolve at that point. I like to go with a hybrid scenario where you would have somebody who is that military presence that can give those instant direction. We are under immediate threat and we need to take this action right now.
Hmm.
Or we can't have a board doing a decision about it. We need to move
We
and
don't
we
have
add them.
time.
Right.
Right.
It's got to
Right.
happen. So that the group has to decide who that person is they trust for that role. But then underneath that, that's when you have your panel to be able to handle, education is going to be just as important. You've got to be teaching the next generation. We have all of the things as far as just upkeep of the people, food, your shelter, your clothing, stuff we don't think about these days. That we're just like,
Right.
oh, we'll just run down to the store and buy more or whatever. That wouldn't
Well,
exist, right?
one thing I've found, I don't know if you know this, having grown up a little more country than I did, but not all sheep produce wool. Is that like
Oh,
common
interesting.
knowledge? Oh,
No.
okay. So it's
Yeah.
not common knowledge even to people
Mm-hmm.
who grew up in the country.
Yeah.
So what we have behind us, these are called hair sheep. They don't produce wool. So their fibers, I guess it's called hair.
Gotcha.
And you
Interesting.
can't, yeah, you can't spin it quite like wool. The benefit is you don't need to shear them every year or however
Mm-hmm.
often sheep
To
need
go through
shearing.
that process. Yeah.
But yeah, if I have to make my own clothes, it's going to be with sheep hair and it's going to
Right.
be very, very uncomfortable.
Well, mine's gonna be with German Shepherd hair. So no,
That's
there,
a little
that's when
softer.
yeah, it just smells like wet dog. Um, there's you should always be saving like your old sheets, things like that. This is
Mhm.
bedding, but also they make great gauze and medical. If you need to soak up a
Good
lot of
point.
blood, you want to save your old sheets. Also, we do some painting and they make great throw rugs and all that. And then instead of like taking all of the clothes to Goodwill, we'll stage it back a little bit. So like
Mhm.
rotate that out like a food stock. And
Hmm.
the more you can store up, like even if a tool breaks, save the handle. If you've got an extra rake that's old, keep it around. Because the more that you can save up, then the more you have is like extra stock for helping other people if they needed it,
Yeah.
which is something we don't really think about. We go, oh,
Well,
it's me and
I,
mine,
I've
and I'm going to
been,
shut my door. But you know,
yeah, I've been told that in every couple there is a saver and a thrower away.
yeah,
I'm the saver. You know, it's like, oh, there is a little twisty tie. One day
the
I'm going to
rubber
need
band.
that. There's a piece of paper. One day I might need to take a note on that.
Yes.
Wait, I know we have 5,000 cardboard boxes, but we
We
might need
need another one.
5,001.
So the fine line, because you don't want to become a hoarder, things like that. But the fine line
No, you
is
just buy
you
a bigger house, then you're not a
rotate
hoarder.
it, right? I rotate it and like to move that stock
Uh-huh.
out. Because if you hang on to clothes forever, elastic's going to be blown out, all those kinds of things,
Right.
right? So rotate it through like it's any one of your other supplies that you're rotating through.
Right. Now, going back to what you said earlier, I'm just kind of curious. You said you have dug into prophecies and so on. Have you kind of stayed current with some of both the Protestant prophetic voices and the Catholic seers?
So I was raised Roman Catholic, and I'm very religious. I read the Bible each morning, and I read it with my family every night. But I like to um, have that as a personal,
Hmm.
my relationship with God.
Hmm.
Because I've had a lot of structures that tell you what you should be, and then negative experiences with religious foundations. And, Jesus had a negative experience with religious foundations too, right?
That's true. And he
So,
still believes in God, doesn't he?
exactly, and he still is the way, the word, light. And so, no, I haven't as much just because I do a lot of studying of the earth. So that's going to, take up a lot of my time, and then chasing a lot of dreams. And the more audio drama that the turning the book series into a 50s radio show, for every like
Hmm.
minute that you hear is like 2 hours of production time. And then
Yes.
I started doing video with it because the AI was bringing my ideas to life. And so they're
Hmm.
just getting more and more intricate. So you'll definitely see the progression of that happening. And then the music, like you say, I can go
Yeah,
in and bring it all to life. So that's, I'm
that's
busy. I
amazing.
just don't have the
Which
extra time.
AI program are you using to create videos?
For video, honestly, I still use Canva. I use
Oh,
Canva
do
as
you
my
really?
everything. Yep.
You must have a paid subscription to it.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But because I like the transparent backgrounds anyway, I
Hmm.
don't like to have to jump from one editor to another. And
Yeah.
so I'm able to produce, everybody's like, you do that with Canva? I'm like, Yeah, because I've worked with a lot of different photo editor or with different photo editors and
Hmm.
movie producers. And like I said, the ease of having it all in one spot, being able to edit you can't make pictures with AI like I do. So I
Hmm.
have to create pieces and then put them together and then make them uh, then I give it back to the AI for them to give them facial expressions and things like that,
Okay.
right? Because it
Yeah.
won't create the character consistency. It won't create like the amount of characters, right?
Hmm.
And you can't monetize anything that you're creating with open source AI as well, which I don't have a problem with. I've never been monetized before. It's all about, people that support my work and stuff like that. But
Right.
so it's the passion to me,
Right.
it just immerses
Yeah.
you in the story. But
One thing that you brought up in one of the interviews I read was you talked about the fact that the Earth has always had changes in climate. I happen to know that from my study of medieval history and the Little
yeah,
Ice Age.
yeah,
But
that was
talk a
cool.
little, yeah, talk a little more about that because most people aren't aware that the Earth's climate naturally does change.
Yes. So our planet has gone through many, many changes in the past. We are so blessed to have experienced the amount of stability on our planet that we've had for the human race for our period of existence,
Mhm.
basically. So people like to think of it like, oh, it's just a rock that we live on. No, no, this place is living, breathing, moving, changing all the time. And we have to realize that, because the minute you start to think like things are stable is the minute that it'll change on you and you're left in the dust. A great resource for learning about like the next disaster cycle and things like that are forecasted is Space Weather News. It's a Ben Davison has a podcast and a well, I guess his YouTube channel. He has an incredible pantheon of work as far as what the past disasters have really looked like. Everybody's like, oh yeah, a meteor hit. It's even in question whether those meteors actually hit at this point. Like,
Are you talking about the meteor that supposedly killed all the dinosaurs?
right, for our
Okay.
extinctions in the past and the Noah event, when the flood came for Noah and all of that.
Right.
That they're now going, this actually could have been pole shifts. And what happens is this is really deep stuff, but there's a wave that comes through space and it's like static. And as it passes by the planets, it changes, and Mars is actually waking up, which we were always told it was a dead planet. But it is
Really?
waking up right now.
When did this start, and what does it mean for it to
Last
wake
year.
up?
So, as far as some of the tectonic activity and stuff that is starting to happen on the planet again, where we always thought it was just a dead rock out there and not experiencing, tectonic activity that to where it could feed volcanoes, to where it could possibly produce an ecosystem again, that kind of thing. Incredible stuff. So as this wave goes by, it's produced changes on all of our planets in the solar system as it's going. And it's passing by the Earth. And then when it gets to the sun actually absorbs the static from out of it. And there's the day of black sun. And what happens is the static will go into the sun and then it'll blast it off of it in a micronova. So it's not something that it could be planetary extinction. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. And we found fragments of this rock that is viscous rock, right? That it had to be like nuclear, something really hot to make this rock. We found it in front of the pyramids, where we know there's been nothing like that could have happened. We
Really?
on the moon, where what was going on. So something in the solar system was hit by this spray, right?
Is all of this on your blog? I want to read more about this.
So I talk a little bit about it. I give you like a precursor to it, because this is deep stuff that, Ben Davis is one hell of a scientist. He has a photographic memory, to where he just retains and retains.
Yeah.
So I have studied the crumb diddle out of his website and his videos, because I went, oh my gosh, this is basically the disaster that I put in my books. This is what he's talking about. And
so you wrote about it and then you read about it.
Yes. There's been a lot of that, which is
that's happened to me too,
spooky.
where I okay, so this is a funny story. In my books, it's time travel to medieval Scotland, but it features modern trombonist. And I gave him this backstory that he's this cocky young 21-year-old, not even graduated yet, marches into this orchestra to audition for their opening for second trombone, and he's made first trombone, and the principal trombonist is kicked down to second. So it's like a year or two later, I'm researching Arthur Pryor, whose trombonists know who he is. Turns out that's exactly his life story. He went to audition for second and was made first instead.
Wow.
And I've done other things like that, where I write someone into a corner and then find out more research. There is a way out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, pardon me. Sorry about that.
So as a homesteader, as someone who's writing about surviving disasters and all, what would be your top picks for herbs to grow, survival gear to have, and skills to learn?
Ooh, herbs to grow would be, what kind of medical issues do you have?
I have none. I'm incredibly healthy.
But like for the regular Joe, right?
Okay.
Medically, what do you take pills for? Start
Yeah.
researching the herbs that you could replace that with.
Mhm.
I've even heard about like for diabetics and things like that. So there's a
Okay.
wild pantheon of options. On a personal level, I like to grow things that we're actually going to use and things that are anti-pest and then have them in my gardens, right? So um, there's a plant called borage that I plant with my tomatoes that will keep the worms away, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Just your lemongrasses, stuff like that, that are really, really beneficial, right?
Mhm.
Nicole Appelian is a fantastic herbologist, and she has basically self-maintained her MS syndromes all through natural
Okay.
herbal healing. So that is a great resource for as far as herbs go. What was your next one? Skills to learn?
Yeah, skills to learn and survival gear. And I just want to throw in, I think I now know 4 people who have cured their cancer by diet, by
Yeah,
going to organic
yeah,
food. It's
eh,
amazing how much
yeah,
our food is harming us.
yes, yeah. So really, it's what's tailored to you. What are you gonna
Yep.
like? What are you gonna ingest? Grab a book. There's tons of them. Acorns
And
are
we own
great.
most of
I love
them.
acorns. Yeah. Um, as far as skills to learn, I think that you definitely need self-defense. 100%, hands down. I don't care how many guns you own or whatever you think your defensive plan is going to be. You need to personally know self-defense. And in your goal to become self-defense ready, you're going to exercise. And that's going to provide your body with the strength that you need because you need ultimate strength for any kind of survival situation because now you have to do it all and you have to do it day after day after
Yeah.
day and keep going.
Mhm.
And so that to me is, it trumps anything skill wise. Following that, I'm surprised how many people don't know how to build a fire. Like, this is essential. You got to just start with some basics. You got to know how to do a fire. It would be good if you don't want to eat animals and you don't want to learn how to process them, then you're going to eat bugs. So you better figure that out because if you don't want
That's
to
an
eat,
incentive to eat
if
animals.
you don't want to starve, then you're going to eat what the bird eats. So you better
Hmm.
figure that out because a lot of bugs actually carry tapeworms and things that are not good for you. And they have to be cooked and they have to be processed and everything just the same way. So like if that's what you're thinking, or you better grow a lot of legumes. Um, so I would start with the basic skills as far as like what it looks like to do a fire. How do you make a tarp shelter? How do you, because you got to stay warm, you got to stay dry. It's the rule of three. You have 3 seconds without air, 3 seconds without air. The air is one that I add in there just because I want people to think about that. Like you need to breathe,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. 3 hours in extreme temperature without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Those are
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. So water would be the other really huge thing. Water, the best. Everybody's like survival straws, life straws. Okay, well if that's all you have, you're going to eat spit soup because you have to suck the water through and spit it out to be able to
Hmm.
purify it. Gross. So you better have another system for doing that. I have tons of basic information on my website too.
Okay.
But purifying water. And you have to know like there's industrial contaminants that'll go into water that you cannot get out. So you need to be
Hmm.
aware of like where that source water is coming from. Most things, distillation of water is the best way to purify your water, better than boiling 3 times. Any amount of chemicals, whatever you're going to put in there, water distillation is the best way to purify water. This is boiling it and collecting the weepage, basically
The
the
condensation.
condensation.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're up against it, that's the way to go.
Hmm.
And then Alexa Pure makes great water filters. I like them, and they have squeeze bottles, so you can squeeze it, and the water goes through and purifies it.
Nice.
What was your last question? Skills?
Gear. What
Gear.
survival gear?
100% hands down. I am all about knowledge before gear. Use your mind, go out and do it. Don't just sit in front of a computer and think you learned it. Go
Right.
in nature and do it. It's fun. It's have fun, enjoy the experience. Who do you think you might survive with? Invite them with you. See how you get along out there.
I'm very
Right?
lucky that my husband is an Eagle Scout.
Right?
And
Well,
he
but
has
what's your big group, right?
the big
So,
group. That's true.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but if it comes down to what am I putting in my go bag, I like to pick things that have multiple uses. So if it's got 2 uses, cool. If it's got 3, better, because then that's less stuff you're putting in there.
Right.
Again, it's going to come down to you. What do you need? As a woman, you might think about feminine products, these kinds of things. I have a list. If people go and become a subscriber, I have a list of everything that goes in my go bag. But more important than anything, you have to be able to carry it.
Yep.
And if you're thinking that you're going to carry it and you're thinking you're going to be armed when you go, now you have to think about ammo.
Right.
And ammo is not like in Hollywood, how they can just pick up the bag and go. It is heavy, it is bulky.
And all their guns can shoot off about 500 bullets.
Yeah, right. So for me personally, I've chosen to go with a 22 round. I'm very comfortable with my 22 Ruger. I don't want to be in a gunfight.
That's what I have.
I'm not, right? Any gunfight, I'm not in. I shoot other stuff and I have other weapons, but any gunfight I'm not in is one I'm going to survive. My pistol can take the 22 round, and so can my rifle. And then I have a shotgun for big problems, right? But I can carry the same ammo for my pistol and my rifle, and it's the lightest ammo possible, so I can carry the most amount of small ammo.
Right.
So,
and that's I didn't grow up with guns at all. I know them from my husband, but yes, that's one thing I learned is that there are dozens of types of ammo.
Oh yeah.
And you get all these guns and then you need all this different kind of
you
ammo.
Never know. You never know.
So. Right. So your book opens on the 2nd of July, which is coming right up. And then it skips very quickly to the 4th of July. So my goal is to have this come out on the 4th of July or maybe on the 2nd. Where can people find you online?
Everybody can find me at changingearthseries.com. And that's my one hub. I've got all my learning information, the audio drama, everything is there at changingearthseries.com.
Wonderful. You can find us at booksandbrews.net. You can find my books at lauravosica.com. You can find our sponsor at gabrielshornpress.com. And you can find more about all these wonderful sheep at glenmerrillfarms.wordpress.com. So we have most recently interviewed Charles P. Graham, whose Survive series also talks about survivalism. Just by coincidence, we have talked to Barry Black, a former FBI bomb technician. And coming up at the end of July, we will be talking to Randy Lurch, a former Major League Baseball player, and his book about getting his life back on track when life is difficult. So thank you very much for being here. Cheers.